You're listening to the Dissecting Discovery podcast with your Fountain of Thought hosts, Sunny Rain and Dennis Fountain. Resistance is futile.
This podcast may contain Star Trek Discovery spoilers, talk of Pon farr, and interspecies relations. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome, everyone, to Dissecting Discovery podcast, broadcasting from the Erickson Memorial Studios. This is the podcast where we talk about Star Trek Discovery. Leave us a voicemail on our listener line at 413-612-8037. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or visit our website at fountainofthought.com. All right, this week's episode is Magic to Make the Sanest Man Go Mad. And as usual, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the best, Sonny, what's your rating?
I'm being very gracious by even giving this a 5.
See, I'm going 9.
Oh, God.
I loved it.
Oh, this whole Groundhog Days thing has been done more and more and more. And you know who did it the best?
Stargate SG-1, Window of Opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'm sorry. I hate those type of episodes.
Nope. Love them.
Ugh. Yuck.
Love them, love them, love them, love them. Anytime there's a time travel episode, the ratings skyrocket. That's what people want. They love it. And I love this episode. And yes, it's using an old, tired gimme, but I love it. It's just great. TNG did it in Cause and Effect. And like you said, SG-1 did it in Window of Opportunity. And you're right, Window of Opportunity that was absolutely the best. I loved that,
especially
episode.
When they were playing golf. Through the Stargate.
Yeah. No, I just loved it when this all of a sudden, ding, 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 this light went on in the Colonel's eyes that he could do whatever he wanted. It didn't matter; it was going to get erased. You know. So then he goes and he kisses Sam, and I just loved it. Absolutely loved it. That was one of my favorite episodes of SG-1. But anyways, the party never ends on the USS Discovery. Apparently, the Bee Gees and Wyclef Jean are quite popular in the 23rd century. Didn't realize that they had that kind of staying power.
Yeah, see, and that's another thing. You know, during all those years of Enterprise, I don't remember hearing modern music.
Oh, never. You never heard? No, but they didn't want to pay for it. They couldn't afford it to begin with. But,
right.
Yeah.
So that was a little weird to me.
I liked it. I just did find it weird that, you know, they're in the 23rd century and they're still listening to the Bee Gees and Wyclef Jean, and the slow dance was Al Green. Why are those songs still? That's a little peculiar to me that those songs are still listened to. But I mean,
interesting concept.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we still listen to songs from the 50s and a little bit from the 40s, but yeah. I mean, for all we know, it could have been a retro party. I mean, you know, I thought the new take on the beer pong was interesting. They were in the whatever room they're in, and they were, instead of, you know, bouncing into a cup that's static and on a table, you hold the cup in your mouth. I don't know if they do that. Listen, I don't do college parties anymore. So I don't know if
that you ever
did.
Yeah,
not that I ever did, but, you know, I DJ'd a bunch of things, but I don't know if that's a thing. But I thought that was kind of interesting, a new take on that.
I found that very un-Star Trek because they've always made us to believe that as we got into the future, all those things kind of went away.
Well, no, they never made. Well, yeah, but the parties were more saxophone and cake on Enterprise with jazz band. It was more cerebral. This is more realistic. Come on, if you're going to have a party, this is what you're going to do. You're not going to go to 10 Forward and have a jazz ensemble there playing while you partake in drinks and cake. I mean, honestly, that's not how it would happen.
And not only that, they drink drinks that have no alcohol in it in those other shows.
Right.
And it's like, what's the point?
Yeah. So I'm on board with this. I think it's okay. I did like Tilly with a little buzz on. She was funny. Again, she's a good character. I love her. She is my favorite. Tilly is awesome in this show. I find it odd that, you know, Tilly, who was like, you know, the cadet and a little out of place and everything, she's giving advice to Burnham. You know, it's like the tables have been turned. But I think what's lost in this episode is that people don't realize that this whole episode is basically it's a love story. And it's about Burnham's coming of age, so to speak, that she's never loved anybody. That's what the heart of this episode is. But I think it's obscured. I don't think everyone catches that. I think it's obscured because of the time travel and that Harry Mudd is on board. I think that covers up, and people just see the outskirts and they don't see the real meaning of it. But anyways.
Okay, but another thing that's bothering me right now with Harry Mudd.
Yes, played by Rainn Wilson very, very well, I might add.
No, I don't have a problem with the character. But Harry Mudd was always portrayed to be more of a... He
flamboyant?
He wasn't just a outright killer.
Well, I don't think he killed anybody per se, and I don't think he wanted to kill anybody. He knew that the time was going to reset. All right, so let's backtrack just in case you have no idea what's going on. Harry Mudd comes on to the Discovery. He comes in, which I thought was kind of cool, again, a Trojan horse, so to speak. He comes in what they call a space whale, and his ship is hidden inside of it. And that's how he gets on board, because they take the ship in because it's an endangered species. So now Harry Mudd is on the USS Discovery, and his goal is to find out what makes the ship so wonderful that the Klingons want it, and he wants to sell the ship to the Klingons for money, for a profit, because that's all Harry Mudd is money and profit. And he has this device which allows him to recycle every 30 minutes. So if it doesn't go the way he wants it, he can go back 30 minutes and redo it all over again. So, now during this process, he's learning the ins and outs of the Enterprise, and he's got a little grudge against Lorca because he left him in the Klingon prison ship, or the Klingon ship that he was a prisoner of, and so he kills Lorca. In very many different ways. And I loved it. And my favorite way was when he beams him out into space, and you can see in the view screen the little Lorca on the view screen. And he's, I don't know. But I don't think Harry Mudd would have killed him per se. I think he knew that time was going to reset, so he didn't have a problem with it because he knew it wasn't for real. That's what I kind of picked up on what was going to start happening when he says, I'm going to enjoy killing you multiple times. Right. And I said, oh, no, here we go. Yeah. But you're right. There was some fun to it, but it's just those episodes get me confused. Oh, no. I love first of all, any time travel episode, I'm there. I'm with you. I love them all. Every time travel, I think they're great. Sometimes I think, but this is what I mean. You don't have to look at this as like, wow, this was great television. It's entertaining. The only thing I would like is I probably would have liked this episode a little later, maybe next season or something, so that we knew the characters better. And one of the things is what I thought was funny is Harry Mudd goes, when he goes to kill somebody, he goes, random communications guy. Because we don't know anybody on the bridge yet.
Exactly.
So I would have liked it maybe, if we had known the characters a little bit, it could have been a little more enjoyable, but that's nitpicking. But I like the episode. It's like you say, this is a complete standalone episode. You don't have to know anything else about the Star Trek Discovery universe that's going on, and you can watch this one over and over again and not worry about where else you are and what's going on.
Yeah, correct.
And it's a lighthearted look at it. And again, I think it's really early. Usually they don't do these kind of episodes so early on, but I liked it. Disco, they're running. Remember I talked last week? They're running around in shirts that say disco, and then they have the party, and we're playing the Bee Gees. I just think they're milking this for everything that they can. It's so good. So how this ends up happening is Stamets, because of his DNA with the tardigrade there. He's
the Ripper.
Yeah, the Ripper. He is out of the conventional timeline. In other words, he exists outside of conventional time, where he knows that when it's changing. So he's aware of this. So he goes to try to stop this, and we don't see any of this because he on his own have tried, and he's unsuccessful. So now he recruits Burnham and has Burnham help him. So this is when the story picks up, and how it ends up being a love story is Stamets wants to tell Burnham what's going on, but because of his sporeness that he's got lately, where he's like high on mushrooms, Burnham doesn't believe him. So he says, well, tell me a secret that no one else knows.
Well, back up for a second. What you're trying to say is every time you reset, everybody, all the rest of the characters have no idea
They have,
what it
right.
except for him.
Except for Stamets.
So
yes.
he would tell them in the next one when
Right.
he plays,
What
I'm going to
happened.
do this.
Yeah.
And okay, and then when you're getting into what you're saying, that's where they have to go ahead.
Right, because they don't know what's going on. They don't believe him. So he has to convince them in a quick way to say, listen, this is what's happening. You have to believe me. Because you spend 15 of your 30 minutes trying to convince somebody that he's, not wacky, that he's actually been reliving this last 30 minutes. So Burnham tells him that she's never been in love. And so he uses that.
Well, he asks her,
To
tell
tell him
me
a
something
secret.
that you've never
Right.
told anybody.
Right. And she says, I've never been in love. Well, we learn that later on in the episode. In that particular scene, we don't see it. But she ends up slow dancing with the new guy, the new chief of security, which they have some type of thing. And again, I thought that was funny where, he looks at both of them and he goes, what's with you two? There's, again, little quips here and there. The tension is there. But they end up slow dancing to an Al Green song and pouring their hearts out to each other. And skip ahead to the end. I know I'm jumping around a little bit, but skip ahead to the end. What's kind of sad about the whole episode is that they do develop a relationship, that they dance, and they end up having their first kiss together. And they confide in each other that they like each other. But then by the end of the episode, because the timeline resets, none of that happened. So now they're back to where they were before. They didn't dance. They didn't kiss. They didn't talk intimately. They didn't know what's going on. So now they're back at the beginning, which is a little sad because none of that actually happened. Except Stamets knows it, but it didn't happen. So that's why I like the episode because it, like I said, it's a love episode. That's what it is. It's not really a time travel. That's just a way to tell the story. And I thought it was done ingeniously. I liked it. I thought it was very good.
First of all, I don't classify that as time travel. Time travel means you go to a destination. You're right.
time
I love
traveled.
those. No, this is just time looping, and I don't.
I travel back in time.
For a half hour. I don't like it.
Well, did you not like Window of Opportunity? That was time travel.
Window of opportunity on
SG-1?
What I'm saying is I don't personally classify that as time travel.
Well, that's time travel.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Fine.
Yeah.
Let's be technical, everybody.
Let's be technical. So Harry Mudd's character, I thought was really cool, and you see him in one of the first scenes is he's in this space whale and he comes out. And we don't know who he is because he's in this suit that looks really weird. The suit is supposed to be a remnants or pay homage to Andorians. And you look at the suit; it's got two antennas and they're blue, so that's a nod in their direction. On a side note, the blue lights that were in there, I wouldn't think that was such a problem, but that suit, just that helmet, was so hot that they had to put fans in the antennas because he couldn't breathe.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm going, well, those lights didn't seem that like they would generate that much heat, especially their LED lights, but apparently they would generate so much heat they had to put a fan in there to keep him cool. But I think that Rainn Wilson does a great job with Harry Mudd. He got more teeth into this role on this episode, and I liked him. So he's bitching and moaning and complaining about how Lorca left him there, and he like you said, he kills him several times. And then in the end, they get him. They finally, after it's got to be like 58 attempts or something like that, they finally end up turning the tide and catching him. And this is where I'm going to be a little critical. They end up finding Stella, his wife, and Stella's father, and they turn Harcourt Fenton Mudd over to Stella, which is a fate worse than going to prison because he doesn't like Stella. And he had married Stella just for her money, we find out, which was no big surprise there, that the father was loaded, and he ended up, quote, borrowing money from the father, and that's why he left Stella, because he didn't have it to pay it back. So they end up turning him over to Stella, and the father says, that he'll take care of his debts. Don't worry about it. But he doesn't want to be indebted to Starfleet. And then they say, just keep Harry Mudd with Stella, and everything will be okay if you keep him out of our hair. And it ends that way. And we know it's not going to end that way.
Of course not.
That he's going to come back. But I question the fact that they left him with Stella. Now, the crimes that he committed, he didn't kill anybody because the timeline was reset, and he did some horrendous ways of killing people. The worst you get would be what? I don't know what you would get, like trespassing, unauthorized use of a starship, or I don't know what the crime would be that he would be committed of. But instead of turning him over to the authorities, turning him over to Stella. Yeah, I think in Harry's case that would be worse because he's being turned over to something he really doesn't want to be with.
Well, that was Lorca's way at the very end to stick it up his ass.
Get back at him.
Yeah.
But what I don't get, though, is that they seem to gloss over the fact that he now knows that the Discovery has a spore drive. And he knows how they travel, and he knows what it does.
And he knows how to do how to use
and
it.
they kind of glossed over that whole section. I'm hoping that gets addressed later because that doesn't seem to again, it plays to this timeline of what's going on. It doesn't work out for me because you would think that somewhere along the line he would say something we've seen him in future episodes. In TOS we know he's there. Did he doesn't say anything about this spore drive? I mean, is this, Section 31 Black Ops secret that Harry Mudd knows, or is the timeline going to get changed so completely? I mean, it leads you to questions at the end of or did the writers just simply go, oops, yeah, we kind of forgot about that. I don't know. I question it.
The other thing, you might find out later that the spore drive just ends up just being a big...
It doesn't work. We do find out that that Starfleet is winning the war, however. Burnham does a personal log, and in the personal log, she says the tides have turned, and they're winning the war. So that's something a little tidbit of information that we do learn in that episode. So... But the spore drive is still working. But I agree. I don't know what the outcome is, and I want to fast forward to the end because I really like to know what's going on. But overall, I'm sorry you gave it a 5. I give it a 9. I thought it was a really, really good episode, and even though it's an old way, the stupid time loop thing, that. I thought it was written very well to tell the story of the love story that they were trying to tell. I liked it. I thought it was good.
Next week's looks excellent.
Next week's looks a little confusing to me. I can't, because the tidbits that they showed, first off, this is the first time we get to see them on, I'm assuming it's an away mission. We get to see them on a planet. It's always been spaceship. We haven't seen anything else but spaceship. So I'm looking forward to that, to seeing something else, something different. So does look good. I would just like an answer to, where they are, what they're doing with this. And it doesn't have to be in the show. The producers could come out and tell us, but I know they're not going to. I just want to know, is this Black Ops Section 31? Are they going to make this? Because things, the way they're progressing, don't fit into the Star Trek timeline as we know it. Unless they can do some fancy writing, like I said. So, but overall, yeah, I give it a 9.
All right, I'll jump mine up to a 6, but that's as far as I'm going.
That's as far as you're going? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I just, again, it was a fun episode. And Harry Mudd, calling the first officer Beanpole, and I mean, he had a couple other names I don't remember, but he was calling everybody names. I don't know. And one of my favorite scenes is, and I don't know how he quite did it, when he waved his hand and people were energized, and I don't know where how he got rid of them, how he waved his hand to make that happen. I don't know. But,
probably because it has already happened, and he was
making it look like that. Yeah. I know. But when he was, again, it reminded me of the new Star Trek when Kirk sits in the chair during the Kobayashi Maru and eats the apple. He's sitting in the chair, captain's chair, eating a sandwich. There was so many little Easter eggs like that throughout the whole thing that, I loved it. That was one of my favorite episodes. Well, that is my favorite episode this season so far. It was good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We disagree for the first.
We disagree. All right. Got anything else to add in this episode?
I'm just not so much the episode, the show itself. I'm concerned. How long are they going to take a break for?
I don't know absolutely, but it's going to be 2 months.
So that's what I'm,
because they're going to end in November. So December, January, 2 months. They're going to a 2 months hiatus.
Okay, this is what concerns me. They still haven't, and we only got like 2 episodes left.
Yes.
They haven't really hooked everybody yet, and I'm worried that.
Well, I don't know about
they
that.
I don't know if they take a 2-month hiatus, they might lose a lot of interest, and people might just say, "Oh, the hell with it."
I don't know. I don't know about that. I do know that it's is because it's a pay service. You've got 2 months that you'd have to pay and not see any Star Trek. So is the rest of the service value to the consumer? I mean, that raises some questions on that end. Will they cancel and then resubscribe to save $10? You know, I don't know. There's questions to be answered about CBS All Access part of it and what's happening that we probably won't know till the season's over. So we'll have to wait and see. So
that's just my concern.
Duly noted, sir. All right, so we will be back next Saturday at 7 o'clock for another episode. We've only got T-2 left. Then we will be going on a hiatus as well. So we're going to follow right along with the Star Trek timeline. But we hope to see you next week, guys. 7 o'clock on Saturdays.
Resistance is futile.